In 1959, 9 experienced hikers died in the Ural Mountains. Their tent was cut open from the inside, some fled barefoot into sub-zero temperatures, several suffered catastrophic injuries without any external wounds, and over the years, explanations have been offered, such as avalanches, military tests, and natural phenomena, but even today, there are details that no theory has fully explained. In a previous video, we explored the unexplained deaths at Dyatlov Pass. Tonight, we're looking into what happened next and the details that still don't fit. If you like dark stories told at midnight, feel free to subscribe because it's midnight somewhere, and tonight we return to the Dyatlov Pass. Now, in recent years, Russian authorities stated that the Dyatlov Pass incident was caused by a slab avalanche, and according to this explanation, snow pressure caused the hikers to panic and they cut their way out of the tent. They then fled downhill into the forest and cold exposure caused their deaths. This explanation is now considered the official position, but many researchers and investigators and family members have raised concerns because several key details don't really align. Now, investigators found the tent partially buried in snow. It was collapsed but not completely destroyed, and importantly, with cuts made from the inside of the tent. Now, an avalanche powerful enough to cause panic should have completely flattened the tent and displaced the equipment and carried snow all the way downhill. Instead, most of the gear remained inside the tent, and the tent was still standing. Also, the footprints that led away in an orderly line, not the type of chaos that you would expect from a deadly avalanche. Now, searchers also documented 9 distinct sets of footprints leading calmly downhill. Some were barefoot, some were wearing socks, and some were wearing a single shoe. The prints remained visible for hundreds and hundreds of meters. And if conditions were severe enough for an avalanche, these tracks and the detail in them shouldn't have survived, but they did. 3 hikers suffered very strange injuries that continue to raise questions. Massive chest fractures, crushed ribs, and severe skull trauma. Medical examiners noted that the force required to cause such injuries was comparable to that of a car crash. Yet, there were no external wounds and no signs of assault, no defensive injuries, and no evidence of any sort of struggle. And it's important to note that avalanche trauma typically includes some sort of surface injuries, cuts, abrasions, and also 2 impact marks, and these were completely absent. Something else that came across quite strange was some of the clothing worn by the hikers tested positive for radiation. Authorities later suggested that the radiation levels were quite low and possibly explained by occupational exposure. But not all the hikers were exposed and not all the clothing tested positive. The distribution of radiation was very uneven and the source was never definitively identified. Now, around the time of the incident, multiple witnesses reported seeing orange orbs in the night sky. Very strange and unusual lights moving across the region, and these reports were actually logged separately. They weren't included in the final explanation, and no official link between what happened to the hikers and the strange lights were ever established. Now, interestingly, 4 of the hikers were discovered months later in a ravine, and they'd constructed a shelter from tree branches and also to a fire pit. And this suggests that they were alive for some time after fleeing the tent, and that they were also thinking quite rationally because they were attempting survival. And this behaviour conflicts with sudden panic or immediate fatal injury. So, to this day, no single explanation accounts for all the injuries. No theory explains the intact footprints. No explanation addresses the radiation conclusively, and no cause explains the calm exit from the tent. Even investigators who support the avalanche theory admit that some elements remain quite unexplained. So, high up in the Ural Mountains, 9 people left their shelter and they never returned. The cold took their lives, but what made them leave has never been fully proven. If you like dark stories told at midnight, make sure you subscribe because I release new mysteries every single week. And until then, I'll see you at midnight.